बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाह। আজকে আমরা innate immunity উপরে দুটো লেকচার নেব, innate immunity 1 এবং innate immunity 2 বা recognition role of recognition molecule in innate immunity. बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली। আমাদের প্রথম লেকচারটা হলো innate immunity প্রথম লেকচার, innate immunity এর mechanical and chemical factors. What are the review questions for innate immunity? After this lecture we will have to know what is immunity, what are the outcomes of immunity, types of immunity, components of innate immunity, physical, chemical and biological factors, what are the determinants of innate immunity, what are the cells of the innate immunity and biological factors. You all know immunity has two systems. Our body has two immune systems. One is innate immunity and another one is acquired or adaptive immunity. Innate immunity refers to basic resistance to disease that a species possesses. This is the first line of defense against infection. Innate immunity can also be defined as antigen non-specific defense mechanism that a host uses immediately or within several hours after exposure to any foreign substance. This is the immunity one is born with and is the initial response by the body to eliminate microbes and prevent infection. It can also be defined as it is the inherent immunity an individual is born with that is always present and is available at a very short notice, and the action of which is non-specific, antigen non-specific. So you can use either of these three definitions. What are the characteristics of innate immune response? The characteristics include the following. By this time, you all know it is present from birth. It is not to be acquired. It is inherited. Responses are broad spectrum, that is antigen non-specific. It does not recognize COVID or influenza or other virus, but it as a whole recognizes the viruses. There is no memory or lasting protective immunity. That is, primary response and secondary response will be same in case of innate immune response. There is a limited role of recognition molecule. This can differentiate between the foreign, that is microbes, and the host self tissues, but the role is limited. Previously, it was known that they don't have any recognition molecules, but nowadays there are some recognition molecules. The responses are phylogenetically ancient. This picture, just intentionally I have shown you, when we did not have access to PowerPoint presentations or these overhead projectors, we used to take classes by this type of transparencies. And in one transparency, we used to include many informations. So here also you can see the mechanisms of immunity, innate immunity. I tried to discuss in one transparent sheet. It starts from your head to all the biological things also. Say, for example, eyes, there are washing action of eyes, washing action of tears, lysozyme, shattering action of eyelids. These are also mechanical. In the skin is a anatomical barrier. There are antimicrobial secretion, normal flora, coughing and sneezing reflex. In the respiratory tract, there are mucus, ciliated epithelium, alveolar macrophage, the GI tract, acidity of the stomach, normal flora. In the genitourinary tract, washing action of urine, acidity of vagina, normal flow of vagina, phagocytosis, fever, all are included in one transparency, but after getting this overhead projector and PowerPoint presentation, our presentations are different, but the contents are almost same. So what are the components of innate immunity? Components can be described as physical, chemical, or biological factors. Physical, which you can touch, chemical you know, and biological. Physical factors, there are 7 physical factors, of which to me, number 1 is bony encasement. In many books, it is not mentioned, but I think bony encasement is the most important. And you see, our brain is most valuable and soft organization, so bony encasement of a fetus is also very, say, skull is very hard rather than other parts. And after the skull, the bony case, which covers our heart and lungs. Next to bony skin is another large organ, and it protects us from many things. Mucosal lining, also important. Washing action of tear, saliva, urine, respiratory cilia, expel the foreign substances. Mucus layer over inner surfaces of the body that traps and expels the foreign substances. Mechanical removal by coughing, sneezing, reflexes, expel foreign substances trapped in the mucus layer. Chemical factors, there are many chemical factors. We have mentioned here 15 fatty acids and lactic acids present in different parts of the body, especially skin. Pepsin and hydrochloric acid present in the digestive tubes, transferrin and lactoferrin, lysozyme, fibronectin. Complement components and their products, acute phase proteins, TNF-alpha, cryptidine, alpha-defensin, beta-defensin, surfactant protein A and D, cytokines, chemokines, interferon. We will describe a little bit in the following slides. Cellular and biological factors, you know, phagocytosis. Initially, the immunologists were divided into 2 groups. One group was phagocytic group, another group was antibody-mediated immunity in favor of antibody-mediated group. Eli Mesnikov were in favor of phagocytosis group because he discovered that phagocytosis, in an innate immunity, there are 2 cells, neutrophils and macrophages. These cells also cause phagocytosis, opsonized, facilitated phagocytosis in acquired immunity. Natural killer cells, they kill the tumor and viral infected cells, part of innate immunity. Surface phagocytes, alveolar macrophages, and normal flora, they are also biological things. They compete with the pathogenic bacteria for nutrients and also produce antibacterial substances, probiotics. Fever, we often suffer from fever. Fever has many beneficial effects. Nutritional factors are also important. As I said, bony encasement such as the skull and thoracic cage, vertebral column protect the vital organs from injury and entry of microbes. Skin, you see, skin has a very definite structure consisting of epidermis, dermis, follicle, fatty tissue, sweat gland, many things. Skin components, we cannot differentiate. In the skin, there are innate immunity component as well as acquired immunity component. The skin consisting of epidermis and dermis is the dry, acidic, and has a temperature lower than 37 degrees centigrade. These conditions are not favorable to bacterial growth. Resident normal flora of the skin also inhibit potentially harmful microbes. In addition, dead keratinized cells that make up the surface of the skin are continuously being sloughed off so that microbes do not colonize. These cells are constantly being removed and new cells appear. Finally, beneath the skin surface is skin-associated lymphoid tissue, salt you can say. It contains cells for killing microbes and sampling antigens on the skin to start acquired immune responses against them. So you see in the skin both components are present. Hair follicle and sweat glands produce lysozyme and toxic lipids that can kill bacteria. This is a picture of the mucous membrane. You see there are ciliated epithelial cell, goblet cell, fibroblast. There is mucous gland with serous gland, dark serous gland. So you see mucous membrane, line the body cavities that open to the exterior, such as the respiratory tract, GI tract, genitourinary tract. Mucous membranes are composed of epithelial cell that secretes mucus and a connective tissue layer. This mucus is a physical barrier that traps the microbes. Mucus also contains lysozyme, lactoferrin, lactoperoxidase. Lysozyme degrades bacterial peptidoglycan. Lactoferrin binds to iron and keep it away from by the use of the microbes. Lactoperoxidase, it generates toxic superoxide radicals that kill the microbes. In the mucosa also, there are some normal resident flora, same as skin, and constantly sloughing cells to remove microbes that have attached to the mucous membrane. And like salt, there are mold, mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue that contains cells for killing microbes, and same function, sampling antigens on the mucosa to start acquired immune response. So mucus also contains both the innate immunity and acquired immunity. Mechanical removal is the process of physically flushing microbes from the body. Methods include, say, mucus and cilia. Cilia, mucus stuffs the organism, and cilia, they propels the trapped organism towards the throat where it is swallowed. This is sometimes called tracheal toilet. The cough and sneezing reflex removes mucus and trapped microbes, vomiting and diarrhea. This is also helpful. This process removes pathogens and toxins in the GI tract. Physical flushing action of the body fluids, such as urine, tear, saliva, perspiration, blood from injured vessels, all are flushing, physical flushing action by the body fluids. এবং আমরা অনেকে হাসি দিলে আমাদের ধর্মে আলহামদুলিল্লাহ বলি, আর ইউরোপিয়ানরা বলে এক্সকিউজ মি অর সরি। দুটোই ঠিক কেন আলহামদুলিল্লাহ, because I got rid of many noxious agents, and sorry means I had no option. I had to sneeze in front of you, so you people, এখন আমরা কাফ এটিকেট এবং স্নিজিং রিফ্লেক্স গুলো ভালো করে শিখেছি, যাতে করে আমাদের যেগুলো বেরোবে সেটা আশেপাশে কারো কাছে না যায়। তবে আমরা আলহামদুলিল্লাহ অবশ্যই করব। Chemical factors, lactic acid, fatty acid. Lactic acid found in the perspiration and sebaceous secretion inhibit microbes on the skin. Hydrochloric acid and enzymes found in the gastric secretion that destroy microbes that are swallowed. Transferrin and lactoferrin deprive microorganisms of iron. Lysozyme in serum and tears breaks down the bacterial cell wall. Fibronectin opsonizes bacteria and promotes their repeat phagocytosis. Complement components and their products cause destruction of microorganisms directly or with the help of phagocytosis. There is a separate lecture on components. Acute fast proteins, they also interact with the complement system to combat infection. TNF alpha suppresses viral replication and activates phagocytosis. Cryptidine and alpha defensin produced on the base of crypts of the small intestine damage cell membranes. Beta defensin produced within the skin, respiratory tract. They form pores in the cytoplasmic membrane of a variety of bacteria, causing leakage of cellular bleeds. Surfactant proteins A and D present in the lungs function as opsonins, which enhance the efficacy of phagocytosis. These surfactant proteins, COVID, they have action on surfactant proteins. By this time, you also know it. Cytokines are low molecular weight, water-soluble proteins and glycoproteins by leukocytes and other cells in response to a stimuli they have autocrine, paracrine, and endocrine activity. We'll show it in the next slide. They are redundant, pleiotropic, and multifunctional. There will be a separate lecture on cytokines. So just you see, autocrine means the interleukin or cytokine acts on the cell secreted on itself. Paracrine on the nearby cell. Endocrine, it goes to circulation and acts on distal cell. Pleiotropy means one cytokine acts on different types of cells. Say interleukin-4 act on B cell, thymocyte, mast cell. Redundancy means many cytokines for better action can act on a single target. Interleukin-2, 4, and 5 act on the B cell for proliferation and differentiation of B cell to secrete antibody. Cytokines, they can be functionally categorized into three types: cytokines that regulate innate immune response, cytokines that regulate adaptive immune response, and cytokines that stimulate hematopoiesis. We will discuss in details in the cytokine lecture. Interferon is another important chemical factors of innate immunity that prevent viral infection, viral replication, activate a variety of cells important in the body defense, and exhibits some anti-tumor activity. There are three types of interferons. We will also discuss in details when we will discuss cytokines. They are produced by enzyme immune-activated cells and virus-infected cells in response to double-stranded RNA that many viruses produce as a part of their life cycle, and this interferon induces uninfected cells to produce enzymes capable of degrading messenger RNA. So if messenger RNA is degraded, virus will be destroyed. What are the determinants of innate immunity? Important determinants are genetic factors as humoral and metabolic conditions of the individual and nutritional status. Genetic factors, you all know, immune response genes are responsible for the important determinant factor for innate immunity. For example, black Africans are less susceptible to develop falciparum malaria. And there is also a racial difference in susceptibility to other diseases like tuberculosis and coccidioidomycosis. As you can observe that in extremes of the age, our skin and bones are less protective, very newborn, and the very old people, their skins are fragile. Humoral and metabolic conditions of the individual in case of pregnancy, there are some humoral metabolic rearrangements, so they are also some sort of immunocompromised. Nutritional status, of course, a very important factor. All the best wishes for you. Now we will go to the next part. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.